film, gaming, pop culture. This is episode 15 of Everything is Permitted. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, Matt Reppert. How you doing?
I am doing great, man. How are you doing?
Good, man. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back, man.
Yeah, it's been kind of a slow week, actually. I had some hard times finding some news, but there was news, alas. So, before we get into our permitted minute, of course, we always like to start the show with some rants and raves, and I'm going to do a quick rant, but before I do, I have to mention that we are in our basement here at Wade's Comic Madness, as always, and Wade would like me to inform you that by the time you're listening to this show, which will be April 2nd,
yes,
that we are a little over a month away from Free Comic Book Day. Free Comic Book Day is awesome. You come into the shop, you get in line, and you get handed like a massive bag of free comics. So you can't really beat that. There's no catch. There's no trying to sell you crap. It's just a bag of free comics. And if you have kids, they give you a bag of free kids comics too. So
nice.
It's a win-win. That's May the 4th is Free Comic Book Day. Also, before I get into my little rant here about the Division 2, which is what I want to rant about today. It's not a rant. It's a praise for once. I want to warn you that as you're driving, listening to the show at 8 a.m. or so, Avengers Endgame tickets have most likely dropped. So, press pause, stop listening to the show. If you're on the turnpike, pull over, get on Fandango, get on AMC, whatever you buy your tickets from, and buy your tickets, because they are going to sell out. Unless the servers have crashed.
I picture, though, it's going to be like Captain Marvel. They're going to have a showing like almost every 15 freaking minutes.
They do, but they're estimating like this is going to be crazy, like what happened with The Force Awakens. Like servers are going to crash. Shit's going to go down. My plan is everybody's going to be trying to get those IMAX tickets.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the one on Dolby Cinema instead, because everybody's going to rush to IMAX.
I thought you were going to be something reasonable, like just a regular movie screen or something, but no.
I never see movies on a regular movie screen anymore. Not with A-list.
You're such a snob.
I am a snob. It's Dolby and IMAX for me, man. That's all I do. But yes, get your Endgame tickets and do that. So I want to give a little bit of praise to a game that you helped me make the decision to buy, which is Division 2. I did not like the Division 1, as a lot of people did, as our guest Kyle Branson, who's along the show with us today, makes a big face at me.
I'm a guest.
The Division 1 was not good.
No.
It had a lot of issues, and Kyle is wanting to interrupt me, so I'm going to let him interrupt me on this. Why did you like the Division 1?
Division 1 had arguably one of the best stories of any game ever. The green freaking plague, the disease that spread from Black Friday, the disease on the... And it just spread throughout New York, and then they freaking walled off New York, which they should do anyways. But it's a cesspool. It smells like piss. But
I used to live there, man.
Yeah,
come on, Queens,
and you're now in Lower Bucks, so you've moved up.
That's arguable, my friend.
But with the phone calls, with the recordings, all of that stuff, and with Agent Keener, the division being called in, and then an agent going rogue and spreading, and it's just like it's so immersive. I actually started tearing up when I was hearing like the desperation of these people that can't get off the island because they are just dying of this disease or being quarantined in an area with other people dying. It was just so emotional. Now, I will give you that the end game of it was very lacking.
I'm not saying that the story or any of that crap was bad. I loved... Go ahead.
I'm going to step in and say I agree with Julian. And the thing is that the most interesting part about the Division already took place before the game. The fall of society,
exactly.
The people dying in the streets and all that other stuff. I mean, I've never been a huge fan of just like, hey, listen to this cell phone record, and that furthers the plot, the story along. Like, let me experience
See, that stuff I liked, and that, if we want to get into like the biggest debate ever, is what I would have loved to see in Destiny, which, they didn't. Instead, they put you just showed me the Book of Grimoire, however the hell you pronounce it, yeah.
But yeah.
I agree with everything that you just said, but what I couldn't get past is horrible mechanics, enemies that were bullet sponges to a point of nauseum, It was.
Well, I agree. I think that in the first division, the main problem they had at the beginning of the game was that they didn't know what they wanted to be. They didn't know if they wanted to be a shooter.
Yeah.
They didn't know if they wanted to be a loot game. Thankfully, with Division 2, it is a loot game. So you know they're going to be bullet sponges. But it is still fun. And the story is very good.
And
The
Dark
enemies
Zone
are
was so
less
broken in the first
less
division
bullet
as well.
spongy.
They have better AI, too.
Yeah, there's much better AI. My biggest problem with Division 1 was New York was not New York. It wasn't one-to-one scale. A lot of the main buildings were missing. They didn't get the permission to put them in the game.
Yeah.
So it just felt like a generic 2-cent ripoff of a city that should have had a lot of cool life to it. Now, the minute Division 2 starts, you're walking up to the White House being attacked, okay?
Yeah.
Like, there's a sense of dire urgency. And when you get into DC and you see it abandoned, I immediately went to I Am Legend. It's abandoned. There's still people walking around. But, like, there's just a sense of, oh, shit, like, all of this went down. Now we have to try and rebuild this. And this is really, like, the last chance we have to try and rebuild society. I've already put more hours. I said this before we started recording. I put more hours into Division 2 already than I ever put into Division 1.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun so far, and I was up till 2 a.m. last night, mainly because I was on baby duty. It was a blast.
Well,
I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad, because I remember you sent me the text saying, like, should I go Division 2 or should I get the expansion to Destiny 2? And I said, I'll give the nod to Division 2 just because I know that you've had issues with Destiny 2 in the past.
And it was the right decision. It ended up being the right decision. I asked my friend Simon, who also, along with you, we've all been playing Destiny for years and years. And I asked him the same question. You both said Division 2.
Yeah.
So, Chris Moke, my good friend, is here. Also, he also told me that he plays Division 2. He'll be on the show in a little bit. So it seems like Division 2 is the rebound that they needed. It's a great game so far, and I can't wait. I'm just having fun, not even trying to get to the end game stuff right now. Just
I
walking
accidentally
around.
got to level 30.
Yeah.
Because I was just going around and taking over everything and trying
Well, that's
to...
what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah,
like
that's-
level
that's how
11
you do it.
already, and I'm like, oh,
I actually got to max level before I even got to the last zone. Another thing I like about it is that with the Dark Zone, initially in Division 1, it was just, oh, hey, there's nothing else to do. Go in here and get absolutely gang fucked by like 10 people. Now with this, they have introductory quests. So you go in and you map out the Dark Zone. And there are 3 of them, so you can go to 3 different spots.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel as condensed. They've gotten a lot better with the sharding of the different servers so that it's not like you're with 30 people that are all way higher gear level than you. Because once you hit 30, they go based on your gear level, just like with the original game. And it makes it so that it's nice and tiered. So you don't ever feel like you are just going in there and getting... And the penalties for going rogue are just as steep as the rewards this time. So it's not like... the person going rogue that has an amazing amount of gear just
right.
I mean,
kills you.
so far I've enjoyed I've actually not minded going into the Dark Zones, because in the first game, like, I dreaded walking into the Dark Zone because any random person you saw was probably going to kill you and take your shit. I like the fact that the drops now, like, only some of them are contaminated and have to be extracted. Some of them are fine. You can just pick it right up and start using it right away, which makes getting loot in the Dark Zone that much better, because I'm now not worried about, like, oh, I got this, like, really great gun. Oh, shit, I have to extract it and hope
flows.
that this dude doesn't kill me.
The entire gameplay flows, too.
Yeah.
It actually feels like part of the story.
I just unlocked my first, what do you call it, like, where you can go in and...
The Dark Zone Explorer, the mapping quests for the Dark Zone.
Yeah, I just unlocked that, so
Yeah.
I'm super stoked to do that. So Division 2, if you haven't picked it up, I highly recommend it so far. Do you have a rant or a rave real quick? Or...
I already briefly talked about it, but I'll bring it up again. Speaking of Destiny 2, they have these quests. Yeah, I know. Kyle's freaking laughing at me. I still play Destiny 2. God damn it.
I hated Destiny 1. I hate Destiny 2.
But basically, Destiny, they introduced the season-long weapons quests where you essentially pick up a bounty and there's like a triumph attached to it where you complete it and you get this weapon. One of the quests that a lot of people were trying to do for the longest time is for a hand cannon called Luna's Howl, which is probably one of the better hand cannons in the game. It completely wrecks people. I've had this damn bounty sitting in my character's inventory for months, and one of the things you have to do is you have to get hand cannon kills in competitive Crucible matches.
Which from before I stopped playing Destiny 2 was already a feat to try and do.
Oh, no, it's a bitch. It's a complete bitch. I fully acknowledge that. Like, quick play Crucible is fine. I actually like that a lot. Competitive is a pain in the ass because unless you assemble a team, Avengers style, and go into the competitive Crucible. Like, competitive Crucible, in case you don't know, if somebody leaves your match, like, as soon as the game starts and the person they drop for whatever reason, you do not get a replacement, and it's 4-on-4. So, in 4-on-3, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, unless your team is, like, that good. But anyway, so I had to get hand cannon kills in competitive Crucible matches, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting this shit done. I've had this quest for weeks. I'm crushing this. I'm getting it done. So I was up till 4 in the freaking morning getting these hand cannon kills. And I completed the bounty, and I was like, oh my god, I finally get this hand cannon, only to discover that there's another step where you have to get solar kills in competitive Crucible matches, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, it's not as hard of a quest, don't get me wrong, because I run around with solar shit all the time, but
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys. So that's my little rant.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry too.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
Well, if that's it,
Yeah.
I believe it is time for
The permitted minute.
the permitted minute, and we will go on this mark in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Angelina
Mr.
Jolie is
Gator, start the
reportedly
clock.
in talks to join Marvel's The Eternals, which will be one of the films that sets up the new phase of the MCU. Borderlands 3 has been officially announced. Yes.
A Chinese poster for Avengers Endgame shows off some of the other heroes in the film, including Valkyrie and Wong.
We will be reviewing this later in the show, but Shazam is officially certified fresh in Rotten Tomatoes, whatever the hell that really means these days.
Channing Tatum's Gambit film is under evaluation at Disney, which means it's probably as dead as it's been for the past 5 years. Also, early numbers are indicating that Avengers Endgame could debut with a whopping $800 million worldwide on the first day.
And I know we crushed that per minute.
We crushed that per minute because it was a really slow news week, so, you know.
We had like a sentence to read for each
It
point.
was, yeah, not much we could really do about that. I think we should just get right into our first segment. And with that, I would like to officially welcome my good friend and former podcast co-host for If You're a Soccer Fan as well, the Soccer Desk Premier League Monthly. We used to do that show together. Kyle Branson joins us.
How's it going?
And also my very good friend, and now, again, if you're a soccer fan, took over my job as AO Philly president. My buddy Chris Moke joins us as well.
Guys?
And we are talking eSports, mainly the Philadelphia Fusion, and this huge announcement that they are going to get what is a first ever eSports arena, stadium, whatever you want to call it, facility. I like compound personally.
Who are you, David Koresh? Let's go to the compound, guys, and play some games.
I'm all like, MCU right now. Like I'm all ready.
Because
for
David Koresh
the
is part of the
Avengers,
MCU.
Avengers Endgame. So
Google David Koresh if you don't know who he is.
Yeah.
or watch that Paramount miniseries,
That
which
too.
is freaking fantastic about Waco. Guys, let's get right into it. So the big announcement, more officially here. Comcast Spectator, which is owned by
Spectator.
Comcast, is basically responsible for all the sporting arenas down at the complex off of Broad Street in Philly. Citizens Bank Park, Lincoln Financial Field, Wells Fargo Center, what used to be the Spectrum. I think they probably run Xfinity Live. They have now announced the opening of a $50 million new esports complex for the Philadelphia Fusion. So, what makes this exciting? What makes this so cool? Why are people geared up about it?
The thing that's really nice about Overwatch League is they did it right. Blizzard, and I know Matt's not a fan of Activision.
I don't think anyone's a fan of Activision, but that's another
true.
story.
Yeah, I was
True.
about to say, do you like Activision, Kyle? As a company, I can't stand their business practices. But
No, I can't stand their business
Yeah.
practices either. But Blizzard, when they were setting up Overwatch League, Blizzard does esports right. They decided to go out, see if they have owners, people that are willing to throw that money out. Tucker, who is Brian Roberts' son, he threw, I think it was $20 or $30 million into the Philadelphia Fusion, and Bob Kraft is actually an owner.
Oh my God.
Which is funny because Boston Uprising has already had a couple scandals of their own, and we always ask, The joke around in the Discord is, does Bob Kraft know he owns an esports team? And I always respond, I don't think he owns an MLS team.
He might not be owning much of anything right now.
Oh no, he took a plea deal, or he's going to probably take a plea deal.
Yeah.
But the big hype
country.
around this is that Overwatch already has its own World Cup. It already has all of these other things. So getting a dedicated arena right now, they shoot on Johnny Carson's old stage out in California.
Right, it's every single team,
The
right?
Blizzard Arena. So they are going to have a 3,500 seat arena that is going to be hosting the home games for Overwatch League, as well as concerts, comedians, things of that nature. It's going to be a general purpose stadium, and unfortunately, it's going to be on the parking lot that I always park at when I go to Sunday Live. But it's really hype. It's fun, and honestly, the entire vibe really reminds me of Sons of Ben, circa 2010 to 2012. Like, everyone's into it, everyone's singing, everyone's jumping up. It's very exciting. It's really hype.
Like when you're watching or going to watch.
When you're watching at a watch party with other people, it's really like Xfinity Live. Of course, it's not packed as shoulder to shoulder like it would be for an Eagles game or something along those lines, but it's still standing room only, and everyone's just like super nuts and going balls ass hard on it. It's just fun. I actually come back with less of a voice than when I go to soccer games now.
Chris, why is this exciting for you that they're building this complex?
So I think it's cool because I'm not huge into Overwatch, but Overwatch is still a decent game. Don't get me wrong; it's one of the best games out there.
It is.
But the big thing for me is it's going to pull a lot of the CS community, which is Counter-Strike. It's going to pull a lot of that community. They're already in talks with getting they do what's called an E-League. Same thing as Overwatch. They're trying to push an E-League series to Philly. So I know for a fact, I go to the Barclay Center. They sell out Barclay. Mm-hmm. I've been to Columbus. They've sold out Columbus. There's a theater in Atlanta that I went to. They sold out that theater. They're going to sell this 3,500-seat venue out in a heartbeat. Barclay Center sold out in 2 weeks for Overwatch League.
Yeah.
For Overwatch League. The last event to get close to selling out Barclay Center was the Knicks game against the Sixers January 1st. They sold 15,733 seats.
Wow.
Yeah.
Overwatch sold 20,200 seats. They oversold that stadium. The last thing besides a sports game to sell out that venue was a Jay-Z concert.
Probably also one of the WrestleMania SummerSlam or the SummerSlam.
Yeah, SummerSlam or NXT TakeOver. Yeah. So we'll actually move down here because it brings up an exciting point. What Chris said. You know, what else can we expect from this complex? Obviously, Counter-Strike will probably play there. I think that's great, but I feel like it opens up the doors for a bunch of other things. I mean, Matt, like I'm thinking, this isn't just great for like watching esports. This is like a venue that people could use possibly to announce games, to do gaming demos. I feel like the doors are pretty wide open.
Yeah, my personal feeling is that this venue is essentially them trying to get in on what could be the next big thing for the younger generation, because the major sports, like a lot of ad revenue and viewership, it's down. And this esports thing, and we had some fun with it before we started recording. And then I'm not a huge esports guy. I acknowledge their skill in doing that because I can't do what they do.
Right.
But I'm not the target audience for this. The kids who are not even of drinking age, those are the kids, the guys, the people that are going to be in this arena, going nuts over like these insane esports matches and things like that. So my feeling is that having a dedicated arena, that is the city or Comcast or whomever's. That's them. One, it's testing the waters, because if you're constantly selling out this 3,500 person arena, let's say like 5-10 years from now, okay, maybe it's time to go bigger. Now it's time to build something larger, even more elaborate, something that because this is because 3,500, that's nothing, and 50 million to Comcast Spectacor, that's like
it's pennies. Yeah.
That's
on land they already own.
Yeah,
right.
So I mean, they could literally tear it down. They could build it and tear it down the next day and turn it back into a parking lot if they want to. So to me, this is them testing the waters to see, like, does this esports thing stick around? Can we build off of it? Can we make Philly a destination for say these tournaments to come to and things
Well,
like that.
and I don't want to stray too far away from like Chris, you said Counter-Strike. Obviously, this is mainly for Overwatch, which one second, I'll let you get to that. Mainly for Overwatch, which I played for a little bit. I enjoyed. Again, it's not my cup of tea. It's way like I'm not into competitive like that. We had this conversation a few months ago, Kyle. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not into esports, but when it's been on like TV randomly, like I'll sit down and watch it. Like, holy crap! Like they do things in video games that I've never ever seen before.
Yeah, and that's something that like with Matt. Obviously, I know that you're not the believer of esports.
Yeah.
But when I'm trying to explain to someone who says, "Oh, it's not a sport," this is why are you watching someone else play games? Like, I also watch people play soccer. I too can play soccer, but can I play at the level of a Cristiano Ronaldo or a Lionel Messi? No.
Well, I think
the same way that I can play Widowmaker in Overwatch and I can get a couple kills, but I cannot 360 no scope someone routinely like Carpe does for the Philadelphia Fusion. So you're appreciating someone who has a skill and playing on a level that you can never ever hope to even get close to achieving.
And we will close out the segment later on with the is esports a sport question. But what I wanted to touch on before we got a little off track there is like this could, not just for esports, but like Madden tournaments are a huge thing. FIFA tournaments is the, look what MLS is doing with EMLS. I mean, do we see EMLS using the facility,
Possibly.
Madden tournaments, things like that?
Well, I should have premised when I was talking about the CS thing to Matt. I don't know if you guys know this, but the 76ers actually own a Counter-Strike team, and they've owned it since 2015.
Oh, wow.
They own Team Dignitas. That was the whole thing. Sixers owner was in a push for this because he wants to be able to play his team. He's got the team over in London right now. He wants to move them over here and start branding them bigger with Sixer events. They have a booth at the Sixer Stadium. Like if you go rent a booth there, one of the booths you can get is the Dignitas booth, which is you go in there, it's just all Dignitas stuff, but it's same thing for the sporting events. You can get it for the Sixers game, you can get it for the Wings game, you can get it for Flyers game, but they own it. They just want to bring it to this side. They want it on this side of the pond.
And the same thing is that the esports gaming teams are big. I mean, you have Cloud9, you have Dignitas. Dignitas is also in Dota. It's also in
League of Legends.
League of Legends, Here to the Storm. The invitation or the international for Dota 2, that's $1 million gaming tournament they have every year in California. And it's teams of people playing these games and the viewership they get on Twitch. I mean, Overwatch League, every time it's on Twitch, you're looking at 180 to 250,000 viewers at a time. The international has 250, 300,000 viewers at a time. People are actually watching it, and the ad revenue for this is huge. And another thing that, because I was actually talking to the Fusion CFO on Discord, because he's in the Fusion Discord. That's another thing that's really cool about the Fusion, which reminds me of early Union, was that the players and the owners and everyone are really interactive, especially now with Discord servers. But he was saying that the venue is also what they're looking at for like comedy shows, for ones that are too big for Helium, which is like a 180 person room,
Right.
not big enough to be in a bigger stadium, and especially with the Troc closing now, I think you could go and see Gabriel Iglesias at this with nice, great quality camera, a very intimate venue, but also seating 350 or 300 or 3,500 people.
Right.
So it's going to be used for more than just this, but like he was saying, there's a lot of potential for this to really grow. And it's in a central location with plenty of parking and easy access too.
Let's talk about kind of a little bit of a sore subject with the location. We tend not to talk soccer on the show because it has nothing to do with our show, but it actually is extremely relevant to this conversation. Back in 2008, 2009, 2010, when what was then PPL Park was being planned, mostly everyone in the Sons of Ben or anyone who was going to become a Philadelphia Union fan, who, if you don't know who the Union are the local Philadelphia MLS team, thought that PPL Park was going to be at the sports complex off of Broad down in South Philly. So that didn't happen. And instead, the stadium was put in Chester, which is, as we all know, not to dump on the people of Chester, but Chester is a shithole. Unfortunately, it's the truth. It's a shithole. It's an extremely poor area. Now there's the whole controversy with the plant down there and the pollution. It's just not a great place to be. And this is a stadium that we go to, every other week, basically during the
summer. You and I are
season
ticket holders.
Yeah, we're season ticket holders.
So
Kyle's season ticket. Every single person in this room talking about
this is the saddest room I've ever been.
Yeah, Fusion is a Philadelphia season ticket holder.
Season ticket holder since
So
it started.
immediately on Twitter, the question that was on a lot of people's minds is a slap in the face to Union fans who wanted a stadium in this complex, and now an eSports team is getting a complex. So the question is this a slap in the face, or is it just...
It's circumstances, because the Union Stadium was never going to be at the complex. They were talking about Gloucester City. They were talking about Rutgers University. They talked
about Bristol, where I live.
They were talking about anywhere that they could put a stadium. Finally, Governor Rendell was able to secure the funding, because obviously nowadays you don't private fund these things, and it stinks because it's a terrible deal for the taxpayers, as we're seeing with PPL/Talon. But it was never going to be in South Philly. That's where everyone wanted it to be, but it was never going to be.
Well, it's like when everybody wanted Citizens Bank Park in Chinatown.
Well, it's very fortunate. It is very fortunate that we got the stadium in Chester, because as downtrodden as the city is, it is accessible.
I'd beg to differ on accessibility.
It's accessible by driving. It's accessible for their core demographic, which is suburban people. Should they have been at the South Philly complex? Sure, that's what we want, but it was never going to happen. It was honestly the best option that was available at the time.
So, fun fact, I actually, a few years ago, I wrote for a blog called Brotherly Game, a soccer blog. And I
used to write for Brotherly Game as well.
I used to read that.
I know shit. I did an article about this very
I'm now
topic.
blocked by Brotherly Game, the site that I used to work for.
Wow. But I actually did an article about this very topic, about Talon Energy PPL Park being in the stadium complex and what would have been required for that to happen. And for this esports arena, for example, it needed to have the backing of Comcast Spectacor. And basically for the Union, for the soccer team, if Comcast wasn't either the owner or a partner, it was never going to happen. And also, like, Talon Energy is much bigger than the Fusion Arena.
That's a huge fact.
And also, I mean, it would have created just unimaginable traffic issues. Because imagine a Phillies game, especially now this season, that they're the hotness of the city, along with Union games on the same day,
and the Sixers,
and the utter chaos that would create down at the sports
basketball
complex.
Season ends pretty soon.
You're still there. You can technically right now. A couple of years ago, I got to go to a Phillies game, get out of the Phillies game, go to a Sixers game right afterwards. You still have that. All three teams, technically, if the Union were there, all three teams could have a home game on the same day around the same time.
Getting off subject here, I went to a Flyers game for a buddy's birthday party, and apparently, I didn't know that stadiums had the capability to do this. It was an early Flyers game, and then it was being flipped over into the Sixers. I was like, wow, you
takes them 3 hours.
It's crazy to me. I thought that was extremely unique. I don't think, and I know that a lot of people are going to think so. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a slap in the face. No. I think, like you said, Comcast, dude, the Union aren't even broadcast on Comcast anymore.
Yeah,
it's on 6ABC and
PHL 17 or whatever.
Oh man, that's a subject for another day. Listen. You're talking about a 19,000 seat stadium compared to a 3,500 seat
arena.
Complex
the footprint
arena.
Is much smaller.
Yeah, it's pretty much going to be the size of.
It's the size of a parking lot.
Yeah, it's not.
It's the size of a small parking lot.
You're talking about very little infrastructure and investment that you need to put in. And like Matt said, if this doesn't work, they could put a restaurant there. They could put a bar.
Scrap it and move on.
I don't honestly see a way that this won't work, because even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't work for its original purpose, it's still going to be a multimedia arena that you can broadcast. Like, think about having an awesome movie premiere there with the big screen and the sound and what they're talking about with the resolution of the monitors and all of that thing. There's going to be so much stuff there. I don't think the arena itself.
Let's talk about that, because this isn't just going to be somewhere that you go and sit. They're doing it right, which again the Union didn't do. They built years and years into finally getting their team a complex and everything. In this building, there's going to be a training facility, which a training facility,
Get in there, bro.
Yeah, let me get my monster and my Xbox fired up. A broadcast studio and offices all in one complex. I mean, that is the dream. That is the plan.
Yeah.
So
It's going to have everything that they want. I mean, right now they have Tucker set the guys up in they are renting a mansion in California right now. They have their own personal chef, Heidi, who is awesome, and she Instagrams all her food. It's amazing. They have their own
you
personal.
gotta hope that like this chef is keeping them healthy because gamers.
No, she does.
Yeah.
Oh my God, some of the stuff she puts out on Instagram, Chef Heidi, look her up. It's amazing, and she's very interactive on Twitter. But
Social media.
they have all of this stuff. They have they rented an entire house. They have a room dedicated to practice. They have a room dedicated to streaming. So these guys can make some money, more money on the side, streaming, having subscribers on Twitch and stuff like that. They have a gym exercise area where they make these guys do exercises because, you know, you got to keep limber and everything. They have a pool. They have a freaking treehouse that one of the Overwatch League commentators stayed in for a week just to hang out with the crew. I mean, the Fusion themselves were a team based of many different nationalities. A lot of the teams in the Overwatch League were actual teams before. New York Excelsior was a team from Korea. Vancouver Titans, newest expansion team, they were a pro gaming team from Korea. The Fusion even have their own farm team called Fusion University, who, through 3 seasons, is undefeated. They have never lost a game. They have a 16-year-old prodigy named Alarm, who's from South Korea, arguably one of the most mechanically gifted kids I've ever seen. His headshots are legendary. And the thing is that he can't even play on the main team yet, because you have to be 18.
Kyle, you should apply to the Fusion's like branding team because I think that you would kill it for them. And I'm not even kidding.
I know.
I think you would be fantastic at it. You're getting me interested.
I've already been interviewed by the Inquirer, so we're good.
I want to talk to you guys about, you know, not just Overwatch, but like I think we can agree that Counter-Strike is probably the second biggest league next to Overwatch.
Probably League of Legends and then Counter-Strike.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. How you're a fan, we're not huge fans. How do you make us fans, or how do you gain new fans?
So it's kind of, so don't take this the wrong way for both you guys. You guys, I won't say you guys, certain people are stuck in their ways.
Walking on a thin line.
About to say, I'm sharpening my knife beneath the table. You can't see
They won't
it.
change their ways. There's certain people that you're never going to get over. It's the same way as I can't get a diehard baseball fan to turn into a soccer fan. Like, it's just not going to happen. But for the people that are teetering on it, I say, as stupid as it sounds, turn on the Disney Channel. Disney Channel shows all the Overwatch games. They're all televised. See what it's about. I got pulled into Overwatch through my cousin. I used to babysit my cousin, and I started watching this, and, like, them showing the crowds, and as soccer fans, you guys know these massive crowds. Just imagine all of PPL. Oh, sorry. Talon.
I
now.
still do this.
Imagine all of Talon doing one chant together. When's the last time Talon's done that? The Open Cup game against Seattle?
Yeah.
This is every game. They're doing fusion chants. They're doing, London. They're doing London chants. The whole stadiums. They get behind, after a while, they tend to pick the underdogs. It's funny watching tournaments. They always seem to take the underdog that's from a random country or a random area. So, like...
Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah, so for CS, it's like... it's Poland. It's Virtus Pro. People, they're nicknamed because they were so small at one point. They were called the Virtus Plow because they were plowing through all the major teams. So, like, a 20,000 seat stadium, them all doing a Virtus Plow chant, they can't even get people to do that in actual sports.
I'm amazed that like you guys chant for eSports, because to me, if I'm gaming and I heard like singing and like I'd be like, shut the fuck up.
They can't hear
They
you.
can't hear it.
They can't.
A lot of times they'll put them in an isolated booth and then they have sound dampening.
With
headphones.
Overwatch League, they just have the noise
I feel like,
canceling.
why are you chanting?
Okay. With the noise canceling headphones that they have nowadays, they have comms, and actually another thing, the Fusion. If you really want to get into them, the Fusion do social media right. They just released their latest video. They released the comms. You can hear the different players talking, and So like I said, Fusion, when they were founded, they didn't even have a preseason because they had so many people from so many different countries that they had actual visa issues. So the first game of the Overwatch League was their first game technically playing together. And so it was a very Philly thing.
Like together, in the same room, right?
In the same room playing
together. Because I
together.
imagine that when these guys aren't all together,
they
practicing
tried,
online.
but you had guys in Korea, you had guys in Finland,
Right.
you had guys in Canada, Britain.
You run into server issues.
It's hard to get the same time, getting people at the same time.
And you have some people with 315 ping, some people with 50 ping, so on and so. But so it was latency.
I'm glad that's still a thing in the modern era.
Latency, isn't it great? But it really, it's so great to just hear and to see these guys. If you really want to get into it, what I recommend doing is you can actually go and on the Overwatch League's Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Overwatch League, you can actually pull up all the VODs, the video on demands, for all the games. You can pull up analysis. There are even some Twitch streamers like Jane, Jayne. He's a coach for the Dallas Fuel. He actually will go in and explain the game, explain positioning, explain what this person was doing, what this person was doing. And it's really exciting to watch and just see how people get so excited. I mean, I wasn't even an Overwatch fan until I didn't like the game at first. And then watching Overwatch League, I was like, okay, I might be able to get into this, and I'm hooked.
That's the thing. I picked up Overwatch and I really liked it. Like, I loved the characters. I'm slowly playing and getting into with a few of my squad mates Apex Legends, which is fantastic. And I see a lot of similarities in from Overwatch and Apex. Not that it's battle royale, but you get the idea.
Right.
I loved all the different characters and all these different choices, but what I very quickly realized is that I fucking suck. Like, I'm not on that level, even for people who play casually.
And another thing that's good about Overwatch is that they have what they call the training mode. So you can go against bots. You can go against easy bots, medium bots, hard bots. You can go against hard bots and you can still progress. It's not like you're just practicing and you're fucking off.
Right.
You can actually get progression. Of course, you don't get as much XP in the way of playing against other people, but you can get XP to get skins, and they have events, and they have all these cool things for it. So it's really, I highly recommend.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and toss the grenade in the room.
Yeah,
Julian, is eSports a sport then?
Is eSports a sport?
We'll start with you on that question.
Here's the deal. Kyle brought up a really good point that I liked, which is that, like any competition, that's my key word here is competition. You need trainers, you need a diet of some sort, because here's the deal. I'm a casual gamer, right? I mean, I'm a hardcore gamer. I'm not a competitive gamer.
Right.
If I put, like I did Destiny 2, if I put long hours into Destiny 2, or if I put long hours into Division 2, or if I'm squatting up all night with Battlefield with my buddies, or Apex, if I play for a long ass time, I'm physically getting tired, I'm eye strain, just muscle soreness, fatigue. I either need to drink some water, or I need to
Go for a walk
after, or just take a break, or I need to just drink gin and tonics all night. It depends on the mood.
Get loose.
Yeah, exactly. Get loose. No, but really,
it's true.
You're not wrong.
So.
So what I want to say is that we were talking about golf, we were talking about bowling, and I want to bring up another one of these is darts. Okay, all three of these competitions, people will say that they're sports. Now, there's different definitions. Do I think that esports is a sport? I do not. Do I think it is a competition like bowling or like darts? 100%. And these things require training still, and they require a certain amount of, they need coaching. It is a competition, but I would not go as far as to say it's a sport.
I'll agree with that, and I don't consider it a sport, because the thing that people when people yell at, say, a baseball player or a football player and something, and say, "Oh, how can you fail at this?" People don't, and I'll get to that in a second. But people don't realize that to be a professional athlete, your body has to be attuned to a degree that you and I would not be able to achieve.
Correct.
Like the amount of work that you have to do. And I understand that, yes, an esports athlete or whatever you want to call them they might do some workouts to stay limber, but they don't have to have like cheese grater abs or something like. They don't have to be at peak physical condition.
No, but I don't technically think that you need to have that to, let's say, play golf, which I do consider to be a sport.
I don't.
Which one of you? I
know that we're about to get into it, but
No, but my only thing is, by Webster's definition of a sport, it's an activity involving physical exertion.
Just went to the fucking dictionary.
I mean, if you want to be technical about it, an activity or an activity involving physical exertion or a skill in which an individual or a team competes against another or others for entertainment. By definition, it's a sport.
Is Jeopardy a sport? Is chess a sport? I mean,
You're not
because
going
that's
against the team. But so
I'm taking down Gladys from North Dakota.
So I think that, and if you look at the Overwatch League, if you watch any of the VOD Twitch, once again, twitch.tv/Overwatch League, you will...
Are you guys getting royalty every time he says
I
that?
don't know.
Honestly, I fucking should.
I think Kyle
you're
got
not
a secret
going-
deal here before he started.
You're not going to see many. I mean, there's only maybe one or two people in the Overwatch League that you would designate as overweight. I mean, almost all of them are in shape or what you would call normal or slightly underweight. A lot of these kids, they actually use, in between games, use hand warmers because your hands will cramp up. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea why they were using hand warmers, and then I bought some, and they're fucking great. Just roll them around your hand. Your hands feel great. But yeah, I mean, you look at them. I can only name. I mean, Pine is probably the only one, plays for New York Excelsior, that I can say is an overweight person playing in the Overwatch League. I mean, almost all of them are in good shape.
But to be fair about this, you're telling me they have a personal chef making the meals and such.
Yes.
If I had a personal chef following me around like Matt here, I made this kale thing. Like, okay, thanks, Heidi. Oh, I probably would be thinner than I am.
Are you kidding me? I told
but-
Heidi, I said, if she ever wants a job where she gets not paid at all, come make me food.
I think that.
But not every single one of them has that personal chef. Not every team. The Fusion, when and like you said before, when Comcast goes in on something, they go in on it. Comcast
let me interrupt you
spends
real
so
quick.
much money.
Is
on
the
this.
World Series of Poker a sport?
Technically, it's on ESPN, so it's a sport.
Oh, because
ESPN
Ocho.
No, it's on Prime ESPN, just
I
like
know,
Overwatch
I know.
League.
It's
No,
I mean,
and I would call poker as it's a skill competition. It
And
takes
it-
skill.
yes.
I don't have that skill, but I would not call poker players athletes.
Poker's a
Here's
game.
where I make the biggest, I guess.
Distinction.
Yes, thank you. Distinction.
You're welcome. I'm dictionary.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Athletes and sports players in soccer, football, baseball, whatever, rugby, those guys get injured and they have to get surgeries and they can get their careers cut short.
I'm sorry.
Stop it!
I'm sorry. I'm just having a thought about some guy like I had to retire early, man. I got sniped from long distance and I was never the same after that.
Actually, there have been people who have had to retire from carpal tunnel.
Yeah, and
Well, okay, but that's like the worst thing.
is
That's
the secretary like
it's
an
either
athlete?
like you're gonna get carpal
Carpal
tunnel,
tunnel,
or you're gonna
degenerative
get
spine
like
disorder.
some bad eye strain. That's the worst thing that
Degenerative spine.
Okay,
I'm serious.
let's be
It's
serious
happened
for a
to a couple
second.
CS:GO
Here,
people,
the,
you know.
the crazy gaming chairs they make these days, you're gonna have a perfectly straight up spine.
Yeah.
That's where I make the biggest difference. Is that like, god damn it, even the WWE. If we want to get into,
I wouldn't
it, like,
say
even
the
those guys,
Overwatch
like,
League is an athletic. It's not an athletic competition, but I think it's the difference between an athletic competition and a sport, like the definition states. I think that Overwatch League, it is not an athletic competition, but the amount of skill and eye-hand coordination and all of that takes to pull this shit off.
and that is where
I give them
I'd
that.
say
They
I say
have
it's a
that.
sport, but it's not athletic competition. Let's some bullshit here. It's not, but it is a sport.
So we are divided
Yes,
down the room,
that-
two to two. What I will say is that I am excited for it. I think it's a really cool concept. I didn't scoff at it when I saw the news. I was like,
No,
oh,
I didn't know.
yeah, that's like, it's a really cool thing that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it piqued my interest. And I mean, hearing you talk about the fusion just like piques my interest already. Like I said, you should apply to their marketing.
Although I'm
team.
not gonna lie, though, the idea like everybody's chanting, but like they can't hear it. So why are we all chanting right now exactly?
When they're at the arena, they can hear it.
Everybody's drunk.
Imagine just having imagine just having a like a NASA spacesuit on at a soccer game, and you're just
Dude, I'm telling you, man, the atmosphere at the viewing parties, it feels like Sons of Ben 2010, 2012.
Yeah, I've met some.
And
they need a
until
decade
the
of failure
fusions
under
start
their
to
belt.
suck.
about to say they need
Now,
a decade of failure.
difference is the Fusion's owner is already putting more money into
You hear that, Sugar Daddy? Well, guys, no matter if it's a sport or not, it's an exciting new venture. There's no doubt that Overwatch is taking over the esports scene. Chris, you're kind of the Counter-Strike expert. I've watched some of that as well. Really interesting stuff. I want to thank you both for coming out and talking about this. When it's up and running, and if Matt and I attend one of these things, we should definitely talk about it some more.
April 4th is the next viewing party at Xfinity Live.
It's really cool. It's exciting to see. I can't wait to see the finished product. That's going to do it for this segment. When we come back, Matt and I got to go to an early screening of DC's Shazam. And if you want to hear that review of what we are arguably saying is the best DC movie made to this date from the new universe, stick around for that review. It'll be on when we come back. Welcome back to Everything is Permitted, and we are reviewing Shazam! Which, as Matt said before we hit the record button again, is something I was yelling quite a bit during the previews, and the minute the credits started rolling, of what I say we both consider is DC's best movie to date, besides before the DCEU
before Dark Knight trilogy stuff
started
and all that.
It was lighthearted, it was funny, the action was great, and it never took itself too seriously. Those are my 4 quick points.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. As you said, it didn't take itself seriously. It wasn't grim dark. They didn't do this whole like, oh, it's the world is shit and everybody in it is shit. Like they just said, hey, look, it's a kid who turns into a superhero. We can't take this seriously. We have to have fun with it. And that's what they did.
And it was super fun, and it gets mega bonus points because it was set in
Philadelphia, bitches.
Philly, baby. Philly. That was awesome. You know what I thought? Go ahead. Are we going to say the same thing?
My wife, Heather, actually probably had the best point about the movie. She goes, I'm glad I saw that movie in theaters with a Philly crowd.
Yeah.
Because you could, like, as soon as they showed the cityscape and the whole text of like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania came up, you could almost hear everybody just go, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I find funny about that is when I'm watching a TV show or if I'm watching a movie that is set in Philly, that is either filmed in Philly or not filmed in Philly, you can immediately tell the difference.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know that they filmed like the outside stuff in Philly because you can't like CG the Rocky Steps unless you really want to. But like they filmed the movie in Philadelphia, but there's a few scenes when they're like on SEPTA and and like the SEPTA logos are not the right SEPTA logos.
Yeah.
The trains are not the right trains. It was really I always like pointing that stuff out. Like I think it was an episode of Fringe once.
Mm-hmm.
They had to, like the show was in Boston and they had to go to Philadelphia on a case, and they put like the little like in the corner like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 30th Street Station, and it's like this little room, and I'm like, that's not 30th Street
Oh my
Station.
God.
But Shazam was Philly. Like it was no doubt it was Philly. It was awesome. I put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like kind of like a 5-point review here for us to talk about. I guess first we'll go on quality, which has been like a major issue for these DCEU films. Specifically, getting off topic here real quick, have you seen Zack Snyder's rants the past like week or so?
I've heard about them. I've heard that he like I haven't read them because at this point like Zack Snyder is kind of dead to me. But
so he's talking about how it was okay for Batman to kill 21 people, and was like, if you don't think Batman kills, like you don't have a fucking clue, and like he went off on like a curse-filled tirade, and I'm like, no, Zach, you don't have a fucking clue. Sorry, Batman's my boy, and I had to talk about this.
No,
real
I
quick.
get it. I was about to say something similar.
No, go ahead.
No, like somebody who says like, "Oh, Batman can kill," like you're apparently ignoring the very core fundamental aspect of Batman. He never kills. The Joker has murdered dozens, if not hundreds, of people.
Raped Barbara Gordon.
Yes, Batman didn't kill him. I mean, and that's one of the primary like conflicts of Batman's personality is the fact that maybe if he did kill, these people wouldn't have suffer through all this, and that's one of the things that helps drive his character and such like that. And I mean,
that's the biggest thing. Like, you telling fans and you going off on this tirade saying that people don't have a clue is like saying, well, Zach, have you ever read a single Batman comic or seen in any other Batman movie? Bruce Wayne, Batman, whatever's messed up in his head to make him Batman. Because let's face it, the biggest question through all of these decades of Batman is Bruce Wayne just as psycho as the Joker. The difference is that Bruce Wayne has never, or Batman has never killed.
Yeah.
So, and then like you rack up the death count in Batman vs Superman. It's like 22 thugs, and these aren't. Was it you and I that were talking about this? These weren't like high level like dudes that he was killing either. These were mercenaries who weren't even necessarily bad guys.
Yeah.
Right. Like these were just dudes, and he fucking like he didn't just kill them. He brutalized them.
yeah, but I'll go back to Shazam here because we're kind of going into Batman
please
territory. But the quality of the movie, and I'll put this in quality, like and the funny thing is when they first released the images of the costume, a lot of people poo-pooed it, which I didn't understand because I don't know a lot about Shazam. It looked exactly
It is a
like a comic book. It was
faithful-
bright, it was colorful, it had like this beefy muscles and stuff like that. It kind of looked, once again, like it looked like a kid became a superhero and kind of what would be in their head of what a superhero looks like, just bulging stuff everywhere and things like that. So, and the movie had, it wasn't dark. It, like had day scenes and stuff like that. It had color to it. The scene when Billy is talking to the wizard and the wizard, it seems like it's this big dramatic scene when he's like, say my name and my power shall flow through you. And he's like, okay, what's your name? And he's just Shazam. And he's just like, he's just kind of like, really?
Really?
Like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff this movie needed because, like, let's be honest. If somebody pulled you and said like, yo, say my name and you'll get my power and my name, my name is Shazam, you'd be like, it's Shazam, really? Like, that's your name?
I was just like, say my name, show me the money, like Jerry Maguire. It was overall just quality wise, spectacular. Let's talk about the action, which also was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean the action. Now, I'm not going to say the action was spectacular. It was what it needed to be. There was some flying around and such, which honestly doesn't always look great in any movie. I don't care. Very few movies have been able to do flying, fighting stuff very well. This movie did it decently. I was okay. I was fine with this. I wasn't like, oh man, this is amazing to watch as it happens, but. Once again, you had Mark Strong's. I can't remember his character.
I don't even remember his character's name. I think Billy / Shazam actually at one point goes, "Oh, so you're the big bad guy, right?"
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the fights between them were fine. They showed there was some good action and stuff like that. When I actually thought it was like a nice little clever thing about how when he first fights him. He, kind of uses his ability to turn back into Billy to slip away because he's so scared of this dude because this dude is basically whooping his ass.
Yep.
And I liked that. So yeah, I mean the action was fun. It was a fun superhero action.
Basically, I think my only complaint actually comes from a little bit of the action is the fight scene at the end, which I thought was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If not just a little too long, I think they could have edited it down a little bit. I love like when all the kids like from his foster home all turn into like Shazam.
We're getting into spoilers by the way, just in case.
We are. Yeah, I did just spoil that a little bit, but you wouldn't be listening to the review if if you weren't listening to the spoilers.
No, it honestly, and I will give the movie a ton of credit because everybody in the theater, went nuts and started clapping and cheering when pretty much all the kids that, Billy lives with in the foster home all also get the Shazam ability, and they all turn into superheroes, and you just see all the smoke and you just see the bolts on their chest like just coming out, and they're all just kind of standing there like, oh, what?
Can I tell you when they first did that though, what my first thought was?
What's that?
Go Power Rangers. I was like, and they all had different colors, and I was like, it's the Power Rangers.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so the action was good. I think the fight scene at the end was a little too long with the seven deadly sins.
I can agree with that, and I also felt that the whole they're fighting the sins and all that stuff like that. Like you're fighting CG monsters, which I'm just kind of like whatever about that at this point.
Let's go into the acting, and I think what we have to talk about is Zachary Levi, who is just brilliant as older Billy / Shazam.
Oh no, he definitely sold it. Like I legit believed that was a kid that got turned into an adult. That was, he did the humor with oh god, I can't think. What's the name of the kid who had the crutch? And
that's what I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, the scenes with Zachary Levi, or is it Levy or Levi?
I think it's Levi, right?
I don't know. It might be Levy, but whatever. But where he and the kid are interacting with each other, and they're Freddie,
right?
Okay.
Freddie's the other kid.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll say it's Freddie. Maybe
we're wrong. And the actor's Jack Dylan Grazer.
Okay, but the scenes where Zachary Levi and the kid Freddie are interacting are probably some of the best banter I've seen in a movie recently, because Freddy is he has a limp, he has a crutch and stuff like that. He walks around, and he's like a stereotypical comic book nerd. Like he knows all about superheroes. He knows all
has a batarang, has an Aquaman.
Yeah, he has like a bullet that struck Superman that has a certificate of authenticity in his drawer that he's like, oh, this thing's worth like $500.
And Billy's like not friends with him in the beginning, but then like the minute he turns into Shazam, he's like, I need your help, dude.
Yeah, he's like, dude, you're the only one who I know that knows about this superhero stuff. Yep. And I don't know what my and then he starts making them go viral by recording him doing all this stuff. Like, oh, let's see if this works. He smashes him with a baseball bat.
Your phone is charged. Your phone is charged.
Yeah, I mean they're like scenes like that once again like made me really like fall in love with the movie. Like I honestly couldn't help myself. Like I really came to enjoy it.
Yeah, I just to talk a little bit more about that. I loved that scene where they're doing all the superhero tests, and they were trying to do like the teleportation test, but it was secretly like the fire test.
Oh yeah, he puts him in the box.
He lights him on fire.
Let's see if he can teleport. No, this is really the fire
test.
Just lights the box on fire, and it's not an acting thing, but it is just a fun scene. And honestly, to me, it capped off the movie perfectly. Was the cafeteria scene at the very end.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil this for you if you haven't seen the movie. But the very end, but basically one of the things is that Freddy, tells the kids at school, like, Shazam's my friend, because he gets picked on, obviously, and the funny thing is they don't really call him Shazam in the movie. He's like the Red Cyclone. Yeah. He's, they have all these different names for him.
Captain Sparkle Fingers.
Yeah, Captain Sparkle Fingers. And he's like, the Red Cyclone is my friend. He'll come to lunch with me and everything. And of course, they have a falling out, so Billy doesn't show up as Shazam or anything like that. But at the very end of the movie, there's that scene where he's sitting at lunch by himself, and then Shazam walks in, and he's just like, oh, Freddy here is like my main man, my best friend. He goes, and I also asked somebody else to have lunch with us. And he's cut off at it's only from the neck down, but Superman walks in holding a lunch tray, and he just looks, and the kid's like, ah! He just like freaks out because like Superman is standing next to him. Like, awesome moment. I loved the hell out of it.
I really like that too. Quick other little note about acting. I thought that the guy who played the main villain,
Mark Strong.
Yeah, Mark Strong. He was just Mark Strong's a good actor, a really good actor.
Mark Strong's a good guy. Like, you need a villain. Like, he played the villain in the first Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr. He's had a few roles. Mark Strong is a guy like, I need a strong villain.
Yeah.
Get me Mark Strong.
And he wasn't anything over the top or anything like that was crap or just like a generic villain. He was exactly what needed to be in the movie.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he was like he didn't ham it up. Like I mean, yeah, there were a couple of moments.
Was that a reference to John Hamm?
No, but he basically like, you know, he was menacing where he needed to be menacing, and you could tell that he was just dumbstruck by the fact that this kid was the chosen one that had this ability, had this power. And I mean, he's just like the scenes where he's just talking to Shazam when they're fighting, and he's just like, you know, how old are you?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm almost like, you know, 15.
I'm
like
almost
14.
30. And a quick note before we get into effects is that Digimon Hansu is also in the movie.
Yes.
And plays the wizard, and he is now an alumni of both the MCU and the DCEU now, because he plays one of Ronin. He plays a Kree.
Yes.
Kree guy in Captain Marvel, and the same Kree guy in Guardians of the Galaxy who works for
Michael
Ronin.
Keaton's got him beat though.
Michael
Keaton was Batman, and he was Vulture.
Falcon.
Vulture,
Not Falcon. Thank you.
Falcon, damn.
Vulture. Oh, that was brutal
Damn,
on my
dude.
part. I know. The effects.
The effects were fine. I mean, as I said, I got nothing to complain about. And the only thing where I might ding the movie a little bit is the sins, the seven deadly sins, their physical forms. You know, they were these monsters, and yeah, they were varied. And
That is where
looking.
the least amount of budget probably went.
Yeah,
into,
but
yeah.
I was just kind of like, they were kind of nifty looking just with how different they were. But I was never like, I wasn't blown away by it.
I was more invested than Mark Strong as the villain than when the sins.
Yeah,
came out.
when
I think
he would like have the sins
the
come
only
out
cool
of him. And
part with the sins was when he first becomes the bad guy and like he basically murders everyone in the office building.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that was a nifty scene, but you know, as we kind of already said, the fight scene at the end with the sins and all that, I wasn't particularly enthralled by them. I would, you know, if they do a sequel to this movie, which I hope they will, that they actually have more physical people.
Well, it's going to be
them
Black
fight.
Adam. You know, it's going to be it's Shazam versus Black Adam, who's being played by The Rock.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good casting choice. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but
Well, that for when they announce Shazam 2, we will talk about
Yes.
that. I think we've said the word 1,000 times already about this movie, so we'll say it even one more time. It was fun.
yes,
It was fun.
it was a good ride. It was a movie that I was glad I saw. I will most certainly buy it.
Yep.
When it comes out, it
Steelbook.
was worth the ride. Yeah, I'll buy this. I'll buy the 4K Steelbook.
And man, like the best part was like it wasn't just like a chuckle here and there. Like you were laughing like throughout the whole entire movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It had good humor in the entire movie. You know, there were very few points where I was just kind of like, ugh, yeah, this is just such a movie trope that it's doing right now.
So before we wrap the show up, I guess the question is, Aquaman was kind of along the same lines. You haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't
where
watched it
it didn't take itself too seriously. It was more of an epic than Shazam,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a lot lighter in tone. Is DC finally getting it right? Is this the future of DC movies?
I'm hoping that it is. I'm hoping that DC, because there's a time and a place to do the dark, grimdark crap, and you know, and Batman is probably where you're going to have most of that. Batman is where you have the grim, gritty, reality-based stuff. Like the rest of this, pretty much everybody else, they're superheroes. You have to treat them like, I think somebody said it best in that DC heroes are gods learning how to be human. Marvel heroes are humans learning how to be gods.
Right. Yeah.
And so basically you need you have to have those moments of fun where, you know, they're like, because not everybody has this grim, dark backstory that, you know, about how they got their abilities, got their powers and stuff like that. Like, yes, Superman, for example, his world was destroyed, but he grew up in the cornfields of Nebraska and stuff like that. Like, you have to take these things, you know, you with a grain of salt in terms of being serious. Like, you have to realize that this isn't a serious topic for the most part. Like, you can take it seriously, but not be serious about it, if that makes any sense.
It makes total sense, which is how, even though I like the movie, they kind of ruined Man of Steel a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope it's the future. I'm looking forward to a Shazam 2. I'm looking forward to an Aquaman 2. I'm looking forward to Birds of Prey, which looks like it could be fun. The movie with Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, and let's face it, James Gunn's Suicide Squad reboot. Which, if it's anything like Guardians,
that's gonna take a lot to sell me.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you got a decent salesman to do it, but I need to start seeing stuff before I can say like, yeah, I'm really pumped for Suicide Squad 2.
Well, that's going to do it for our show. When we come back next week, we are going to be joined by the guys from the Cinescape podcast, and we are going to be talking about movies that are so bad that they are good. One more quick thing before we go. We forgot to announce it at the top of the show. The Great Permitted Rewatch. That starts this Thursday, April 4th, and you will be starting with, in chronological order, Captain America, the First Avenger, and we will then lead up all the way to April 25th's Thursday screenings of Avengers Endgames. That starts this week. Also, very quickly, would like to apologize for the noise today. Wade's has been under renovation for the past few weeks. Part of the things that's really cool is the basement is brand new, but with that comes some noise, so we apologize for that. We will be back next week with a fresh episode. Have a good night.
To the moon, by airplanes